This is Gift Segmenter Training Part 3. In our last session, we finished by talking about the charitable and sales related field, and now we'll move down to this anonymous field. In the gift record, there's a little checkbox that allows you to indicate that a gift is anonymous by checking that box. Denari assumes that all gifts are not going to be anonymous, so you would actually have to check that box to make that active. That field primarily has a value in the missionary module, and that's what it was intended for, but you can use it for a couple of other things. For example, the detailed gift listing report can be printed to excluding the anonymous gifts, and then you can also use it here. So you can simply, by using this field, get a list of the anonymous gifts, or by selecting not anonymous gifts, in effect you're excluding all the anonymous gifts from the output. The split type field refers to hard, soft, those kinds of things. And let's say, for example, we want to get a list of all the hard credit gifts only. And by default, notice that that field is left blank. So that means that you're getting both hard, soft, covered gifts, etc. When you create a new gift segment. So if you want just the hard or just the soft, etc., you have to do something with this field. You have to use this filter. And so let's just choose equal to for the time being. Now over here in the low value field, you're not going to type in the word hard or soft or whatever. Denari is actually looking for a number here, and to find that number you're going to click the little question mark, and then this help screen will give us those numbers. So we see that hard is 1, soft is 2, etc. So if we want a list of just hard gifts, we're going to put the 1 in there. We could use, not equal to, we can use between, just like the other fields we've seen, and put in a range in the low and high value fields. We could use in, and using the same syntax that we saw before with the single quotes, we could enter, say for example, we want just the hard and the covered for some reason, so we would enter it that way, just like we did with the appeal and fund codes, etc. The split code field refers to a field that is at the very bottom of the split gift record. It is a free-form field in that it allows you to type whatever you want to type into that field, and for that reason it doesn't get used a whole lot, because whatever you put in there, you type it in, you have to spell it the same way over here, and different people kind of type different things, and it's possible to make typing errors or spelling errors, and so it's not all that useful. But sometimes I have seen some of our clients who have a need to code a gift or a split in a particular way that Denari does not already provide a way for, and so this allows you to filter on that. So let's just say you've made up a code over there called DS, and now we want to get a list of all those DS gifts, and that's what this field allows us to do. The tribute code field refers to the gifts in memorial, or gifts given in memory of, and you may or may not be using that field, but if you are, you may want to say get a list of gifts that were given in memory of John Doe, and so you could say equal to, and then in the low value field use a little question mark to select that tribute, and that will give you that gift. And of course you can use the other operators. We could use between to get a range of gifts given in memory of, etc. The pledge segment field allows you to select a pledge segment that you've already created. And what that does, in effect, is expand the capabilities of Gift Segmenter to include the pledge fields. And we're going to talk some more about this later as we get a little more advanced in our training. But the idea here is, let's say, for example, we want to get a list of all the gifts that were given to just our open pledges, or all the gifts that were given to our pledges that have a certain appeal code or fund code, etc. You can then create that pledge segment to identify those pledges, link that to the gift segment. Now our gift output is going to be limited to just those pledges. So we're going to be seeing gifts to just the pledges with that fund code, or just the pledges that have a certain stop date, or just the pledges that are credit card pledges or EFT pledges, etc. So it greatly enhances the ability of Gift Segmenter. The sponsorship gift type field refers to, obviously, the sponsorship module. It is possible to give gifts to specific kinds of gifts, for example, a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, etc., to your sponsored child, and this allows you to filter on that. So we can limit our output then to just birthday gifts or just Christmas gifts, etc. So that finishes the filter section of the major part of that. The only three we have to deal with then are these oddballs that we mentioned earlier. First one being gift letter. When you create a gift record, you of course have to assign a letter to that gift. This allows you to filter on that. So it's very simple. You could get a list of all the gifts that have the June letter or have the banquet letter, etc. The adjustment code field refers to the adjustment feature in Denari. When you run that adjustment, what Denari does is it in effect reverses the gift, and it leaves the record of that reversal behind. So when you reverse a gift, Denari finds the original gift that it's going to reverse, and it changes the type of that gift, and it calls it original. It also creates a negative record, so it's basically zeroing that out, and it calls that record the adjustment. And by default, Denari assumes that most of the time you're not going to include those in your outputs. You really only want to see what Denari calls the normal gifts. You don't want to see the originals or the adjustments, because they're just there for you to be able to see that in the donor's gift history page and know that that gift had been adjusted. And so it's pulling those out of a gift segment by default. So that's why it's using this operator not in, and then you see the A and the O over here, the original and the adjustment. So most of the time you're not going to touch this field. By default you're just going to leave it as it is. However, you could use it. So for example, if you wanted to see a list of the adjusted gifts or the originals, you could change this operator to equal to, for example, and then just put the A in the low value field to get the adjusted gifts and so forth. And by the way, in other reports in Denari, these adjusted and originals are not included at all ever. So this is the only way that you would get a list of the adjusted or the list of the originals and so forth. The state field is kind of an odd one in that if you're thinking about this, we started out by saying that gift segmenter filters on a list of gift characteristics. And you would think that state is really a name characteristic. But what happened a number of years ago, someone ran a gift segment filtering on all the gifts, let's say from the state of Florida, or they wanted a list of all the gifts from the state of Florida. And when they ran that again 6 months later, the very same segment, they got a whole different list of gifts, partly because those people who had lived in Florida had now moved somewhere else, and the gifts theoretically went with them. And so they introduced this idea of state being a gift characteristic. And so very simply, when a gift is given by somebody who lives in the state of Florida, for example, that gift becomes a Florida gift. And so even if you run that same report 6 months later, it's still a Florida gift, even though they may have moved to Colorado or something. And so this just allows you to filter on that state filter. So that finishes the filter discussion. We're going to move on to the output in the next section of gift segmenter. Again, just to reiterate, it's important to remember that the only filters we can use here are gift characteristics, things that describe the gift, mainly the fields that you find in a gift record. And gift segmenter only outputs then that list of gifts, and that we're going to expand on later, because one of the values of gift segmenter and all the segmenters in general is that they can be used in combination with each other, but they can also be used with other reports. And so the segments themselves have an output ability, but then they also have the ability to enhance other reports, and we're going to look more at that later on. And so we'll finish here for this section and then pick it up in part 4.